Now I'd like to invite Dr. Juaida Ghanim to take the podium. Dr. Juaida Ghanim is a lecturer at the Department of Philosophy in Bouira University in Algeria. She obtained a PhD in philosophy with a specialization in colonialism and post-colonialism from Abdul Hamid Mehri University in the city of Constantine. Her research interests are philosophy of the cultural criticism, colonialism, and post-colonialism. She is an expert at the Journal of Philosophical Studies at the Algerian Philosophical Society. She's also a member of a research group in the Algerian Ministry of Education and Scientific Research on the legitimacy of the jurist and philosopher in Morocco and Andalusia. Thank you very much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to our Prophet Muhammad, his household and his companion. It is difficult to talk about the environmental sciences from an imperial perspective because it is convoluted and it lies between science and the imperial projects.
إلى قضية
تحكي على الفرنش شانل هاي خلص هي تغير لكن على الفرنش كنت على الفرنش شانل سوري كنت على القناة الفرنسية سامر
لكن لا نملك قدرة عن إزالتها أو إبداء موقف رسمي من تناقضاتها واختلافاتها. نرتقي عبر رحلة.
We move, as a matter of fact, from the literature of the scripture, and we're touching upon Christopher Columbus and his ship that left to the New World. And I would like to also talk about the environment, the climate, and as a matter of fact, we would like to look at the imperial science that comprises of three components. The first one is to get acquainted with the historical scholars that dealt with anthropology, dealt with agriculture, meteorology, and space-related sciences, and so on and so forth. The second component is to try to disintegrate or perhaps plumb the depth of a certain imperial-related literature. And the third component perhaps will be an attempt to monitor the imperial activities in defining climate, the territory, as well as environment. I resorted to go through three milestones. First, agriculture. Agriculture in the Western thought relates to culture or culture, which means plowing land. In Prometheus venture in Greece, he, as a matter of fact, talks about reaching for remote areas, as per Edward Said. And since the yesteryears up until the colonial literatures, modernism, enlightenment, as well as Renaissance, every single literature alludes to the fact that there is a degradation of the environment, as in Friedrich Engels, as well as Marx in his book The Capital. Anna Holman says in her book Deforestation and the Empire, it says that empires have indeed destroyed the climate-related values. And in and hence it had into place a different concepts. Alfred Grosby, he has a book entitled Ecological Imperialism, or the Ecological Imperialism, and he explains how the colonialists moved some of the crops from Europe to the colonies. And here we can reread the dialectic between the rule and the rulers in terms of the agriculture. The colonized people suffered greatly from a number of issues, and Europe wanted a market to invest in, and that's why, as a matter of fact, there was a phylloxera in Europe in 1868, and in France in 1864, and in California in 1858. The colonial project moved agriculture to the colonies in order to get rid of the phylloxera, this insect. And as a matter of fact, agriculture has changed since then. In addition to that, when it comes to investing in the colonies, we can see that in Egypt, when the Ministry of Agriculture imported certain Israeli cotton seeds, and this had led to the destruction of the Egyptian cotton, and this, as a matter of fact, was or resembled a heavy blow to Egypt in that era, and it had led to the destruction of the cereals as well as the wheat. And when it comes to nutrition, in 1925 we had animal-based nutrients as well as plant-based ones, and this had affected the genome of humans as well as the nature itself. When it comes to space sciences, as a matter of fact, scholars are looking to go to Mars, and one of the philosophers, Stuart Brent, who talked about having a colony in Mars, he wanted to do so rather than having colonies on land, because these colonies on Earth are perishable. And as a matter of fact, in accordance to Armageddon, this Earth will be perished and will be having a transcendent kind of colony in Mars. But the question is, how could we protect such humans if they went to Mars? How could we protect them from meteors and so on and so forth? Meteorology as well played a role in absolving the colonizers from any guilt, and as a matter of fact, the colonizers had put into place meteorological centers so that they can control the environment and the geographic related activities as well. We wonder about the ethical aspect of this regard. There are plenty of international agreements, starting with 1982 agreement and 1986 in Stockholm and 1982 in Rome, as well as the Kyoto Protocol. They talk about the climate justice. Now the problem is as follows: is there a difference between an environmental related justice and a climate related justice? Is climate different than the environment? If we say so, then we need to find a solution, we need to find a response. And the other question is, what about the greedy capitalism that refuses to strike a balance between the needs and the market? And how could we, as a matter of fact, confront the colonial centralized science that allows inappropriate abstractions. So we are, as a matter of fact, facing a genome related war, a hereditary related war that taps into manipulating the DNA. And this, as a matter of fact, was known in the concept of the just war. The just war had in place three components. First is the creed of affiliation. I need to be affiliated to this camp or the other. The other point is I must have the creed of ownership. I might be susceptible to be owned as well, and if I want to escape from such ownership or such bondage, I'll be, as a matter of fact, be subject to wars, as what took place in Damascus, in accordance with Shia's gospel, as well as in Iraq, as well as the Yemen, and so on and so forth. So the question is, do we have to compromise between the truth and justice in context to the post-colonial context? There is no compromise between the environmental justice and the climate justice, because they are two sides of the same coin, and we cannot, as a matter of fact, compromise between science and truth here. We cannot talk just about the centralized imperial science, because, as a matter of fact, we need to understand these nuances, and we need to have a new centrism that deals with agriculture, space, and meteorology. Thank you very much indeed.